Hello, welcome to Microfiche Microphone, and on this channel we look at old newspapers from the past and look at them with our modern eyes, our modern perspective, and see what we can learn from them. So on this Microfiche time capsule, we're looking back at Kansas Farmer from the 4th of May, 1918. And this is an article entitled Prohibition Marching On. I thought we'd move away from our World War I news and look at another topic which was very applicable at the time, and that is prohibition. This one's not too long, but I thought that it might show us how people felt about prohibition at the time, or how people were trying to tell them to feel. I feel like this one might be a touch on the propaganda side. So let's take a look. Prohibition marching on. Farmers of Kansas will rejoice at the progress we are making toward becoming a boozeless nation. Told ya. I only read that first couple sentences, and it sounds a little propaganda-y to me. 11 states have now ratified the National Prohibition Amendment, among them being the states of Kentucky, Maryland, Delaware, and Massachusetts. These are states which have long been counted in the wet column. Indiana is now dry by statute. Numerous cities in Illinois, among them the notorious city of Rock Island, have voted dry. 20 cities in New York have recently voted dry, the larger ones being Auburn, Elmira, Ithaca, Binghamton, Gloversville, and Middleton. With these additions to the dry columns, there will be a steadily decreasing amount of foodstuffs used for the production of liquor in this country. Okay, yeah, I mean, that is one argument. I know that they had some volunteer, food rationing that they had back then. They asked people not to use as much food as they normally would. This one I find interesting, that they're using the argument that food won't be necessary to create alcohol because so many places are going dry. Prohibition. My personal view on prohibition is I wish that more people would be open to it. And the reason I say that is that I feel like alcohol causes a lot of problems. I mean, you can ask any police officer what creates the number one reason why people commit crime, and that is because of intoxication. Also, drunk driving is a major issue because people don't view drinking in the same way they view other things. Like if they were high, if they were taking drugs, I don't think that they would want to drive. But because they have this idea that drinking is not that bad, that they're not that impaired, and then they think that they can drive, and it goes terribly wrong. So compared to other drugs, compared to THC, for example, alcohol is much worse. It's much worse for your body, and it's much worse for the way you act, as far as impairment goes. And so in that sense, I don't understand why marijuana was banned, but alcohol was not. And on that same vein, I would ask, why was the banning of alcohol never really successful anywhere, ever? And I wish that, and because it has never been successful, I don't think that that's the right solution. However, I feel like I wish that there was more of a social stigma against drinking than there is. That's what I wish. I wish that people didn't expect others to drink. I've even been asked before, why aren't you drinking? Like you have to justify yourself if you don't want to, and that's what I don't like. I wish that it would be normalized to not drink, to say, no thank you, I don't want any. I don't like impairment, that's why I don't drink. I don't understand why I would need to justify myself in not drinking. And that's my personal opinion on that. I know it's an unpopular opinion, so go ahead, fight me in the comments, I don't mind. Have another opinion than I have, because I don't expect everyone in the world to agree with me. That's okay. We can all disagree together, yeah? But this is a fact that we're looking back on. This is cities and states where they banned alcohol. So they were not allowed to sell alcohol. They were not allowed to manufacture alcohol. Okay, so let's go on. Daniel A. Poling, who is now investigating most thoroughly vice conditions in France and England as touching our army, writes most encouraging news of the results of the efforts being made to protect our boys on the other side. While conditions in England are far from satisfactory, and especially as applies to our Marines and sailors, he comments on the receptive attitude of Great Britain, mentioning the statement of a member of Parliament made in February that the restrictions then announced on the brewing of beer had been made as the result of public sentiment in the United States. Mr. Poling tells of a distinguished citizen of Glasgow who, in speaking a few weeks ago on the scant consideration being given to the real public opinion of the United Kingdom, said, "God bless America. In her lies our hope of war prohibition." Okay. I'm sorry. Like, I love that there's one person saying, "That's great that you're doing prohibition. I wish we would do it here." He takes it as being like the opinion of Great Britain, quote unquote. Like, on the receptive attitude of Great Britain. No, that's not an indication of the attitude of Great Britain. Did you do a poll? Was there any randomizing there? No, you found one person who agreed with you and you quoted them and said that's the opinion of Great Britain. That is extremely unscientific. Oh, that's so funny. Like, this is just another example, in my opinion, of how misinformation was spread. And it was spread so easily that they didn't say that we need to have randomization. He didn't say we need to have at least a certain number of participants in order to make this significant. He didn't mention any of that. I've done some studies in statistics, so I do know a little bit about it. And I know that polling one person who shares your opinion is not at all scientific. That is anecdotal evidence, and it is not empirical evidence. So we can't say what Great Britain thought based on that one statement. I wonder if there was a survey done at some point. I don't know, but I do know that this is not at all any kind of evidence. That's funny. Meanwhile, our house cleaning at home is going on apace, and we can soon, with better grace, turn upon England the casting out of the liquor trade, which, according to her own Prime Minister, Lloyd George, is the most dangerous foe Great Britain is now fighting. All right, so there's another person that agrees with them. Once again, anecdotal evidence. They're bound to find a few people that agree with you. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a few viewers who agree that drinking shouldn't be as acceptable as it is, but I'm willing to bet that most people will disagree with me because I feel like most people don't feel that way, and that's okay. But once again, there might be one or two people who do think this, so there you go. I just think it's amusing that they're like talking to other people in other countries, and specifically only one other country. They didn't mention any of the other allies. I mean, they weren't fighting just with Britain. They were also fighting with... I'm going to have to look it up because I'm not sure. World War II, I know better. World War I. World War I allies. France, Great Britain, Russia, Italy, Japan, and from 1917, the United States. The United States was the last one to jump on board, so you can't really say that they were, like, major. Sorry, because the war started in 1914, and the United States didn't join until 1917, and that's just kind of, like, you were a little late to the party there, you know. And then saying, oh, we're doing prohibition, and now let's choose one other country that we like the most, and whatever they think is the right thing to do. It just confirms that we're doing the right thing. Like, they're very, very guilty of confirmation bias here. And I hope that this is something that we try to move away from. I know there are a lot of articles who do this. A lot. like, hey, we talked to one other person and they agreed. It's like these articles about how women feel about something and they asked men. Oh, that's great. I'm sure that they're experts on that. Seriously. Like, it just reminds me of that. This is solid confirmation bias, and it should not at all be taken seriously. That being said, this feels very propaganda-y. This feels very much like, aren't we amazing? We're doing such a wonderful thing, and everybody agrees that we're doing wonderful things, and, you know, everybody should feel good about it. When I happen to know a lot of people did not feel good about prohibition, and that's why it didn't work. That's why they eventually repealed prohibition, because people were dying from drinking rubbing alcohol and things like that. Like, that's not good. We don't like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a solution here. I feel like I wish we did have a solution. I wish it would be, you know, there were like an easier way to help people to come down from alcohol, if there was some sort of like alternative. I know around this time they opened, instead of bars where people would gather and have a social aspect, they opened like soda fountains, which I think is cool. You can invite the kids to that, you know. They did not allowed to come to the bar, but they're allowed at the soda fountain. So I don't know, I kind of like that idea. I wish that there was something that people didn't think was so incredibly cheesy that they can't really handle. Yeah, I wish there was a substitute of some sort that would fulfill that need for the social aspect and also for the looking cool aspect without it actually damaging your liver and impairing your judgment. That would be awesome. That's what I wish on the world. Maybe someday we'll find something like that. But until then, I don't think we should go back to prohibition. We have proved that already that it doesn't work. So let's move forward instead of moving backward, and just be grateful for our modern world and that we can be educated and make educated decisions on whether or not we choose to drink. Yeah. So that's my my soapbox for the day. Also, thank you for joining us on our Microfiche time capsule. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next video.